Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we will be discussing in short regarding the third unit of our constitutional development, that is subject of second semester, that is regarding development of legislature authorities in India, which includes many acts, that is Indian Council Acts, Government of India Acts, and subsequently the Indian Independence Act of 1947. What were the developments during this course from 1861 till the 1947 we will be learning in very short today. First is regarding the Indian Council Act of 1861. So to understand why this act was enacted in the first place was regarding that the Charter of 1833 took away the powers of Governor General, and the main reason why this act was enacted was because of the revolt of 1857, the landmark revolt, due to which Montague and Chelmsford, these are the two luminaries from British at that time who were ruling in India. They both realized that there was an importance of reforming the entire Indian legislature at that time. Therefore, this Indian Council Act was enacted. What were the provisions of this Indian Council Act? First, the Executive Council was reconstituted entirely, where Governor General and members who were associates of a Governor General who will be helping him were reconstituted. Then the powers which were taken away by Charter of 1833 were given back to Governor General. Third, Indian associates were given law-making powers, and governor and general can issue ordinances. So ordinances basically means bills, but entire power still lied upon Governor General only. Though Indian associates were given power, they were associates and they were never uplifted from their position. And lastly, there was a restriction on provincial council powers. So again, the same point, that Governor General was supreme in its entirety. Then subsequent act of 1892. So after Indian Council Act of 1861, the Act of 1892 was enacted, which brought changes in the constitutional setup of Government of India. So from this point forward, we will look at how Government of India and the legislature and executive functioned in detail. That first, additional members were added, that was between 10 members to 16 members in the council who were assisting the governors. Then 2/5 of the members in the council were to be nominated. So these are to be nominated members and not elected members. So again, government only decides what members from who will be uplifting from who. So this means that Indian legislature is still not existed. British people liked those people only, means they will uplift those people only who are in favor of them. So they will not give Indians chance. Third is that annual financial statements. So this is a new point, that financial statements were also being introduced and added. Fourth is regarding increased power of legislature and structured it properly. So basically that they wanted to make a streamlined procedure for all legislature, executive and judiciary, which we have seen in prior also, that how from High Court, Adalats to Supreme Court, the hierarchy is there. Similarly here also, provincial government, Government of India, central legislatures, the provincial legislature, like this divisions were being slowly made, and the powers were structured properly. Then elections were being held, but we will see how these elections were and what adult franchise at that time was there. But mostly nomination was the method which was mainly used. And then for small petty issues related matters, a small council was set up by this act. Then subsequent act, that is first we see the 1861, then 1892, then now 1909, that is which is called as Minto-Morley reforms as well. So prior was called as Montague-Chelmsford, and this is called as Minto-Morley reforms. So what is the background of this? That the Act of 1892, the Indian Council Act, it failed to establish the demands of Indian leaders, as still Crown had entire control over India, and the division of Indian National Congress, if we say in short, that there were mainly two thinkings. One was moderate and second one was extremist. And in 1905 there was a Bengal partition, where Bengal was separated from its territory, and then the extremists took some violent measures, the revolts were going on, and moderates criticized the government functioning. And after looking at this, Lord Minto, who was the Secretary of State of India, came to India, and John Morley, who was an advocate, they both made a report, and to suppress this nationalist movement, they introduced they gave certain proposals to the British cabinet, and therefore this act was being enacted. And what was the provisions of this act? That first, 70 Supreme Legislative Council was to be established of 70 members. Again, these members were from British only, not from India. Then increased provisional legislative council, so the capacity was increased to control the same. Then 3 types of members were divided in this. First was ex officio members who can hold 2 offices, then second nominated members, and third elected members. So adult franchise, which I was talking about, is that landlords who were more than age of 21 were only allowed to vote. No one other than that would allowed to vote. And small communal representation, because entirely cutting off Indians from the legislature and executive would not do, so they gave a hope that communal representation was there. So then again, this communal representation was coming with its defect as well. So only Hindus and Muslims were given communal representation in the legislature. Then what were the defects of this act? It was divide and rule policy. It clearly shows that the communal representation which is been given only to Hindus and Muslims, so they are trying to divide into these communities. Then again, there was this led to the division of India, and you cannot ask questions to the executive here. Whatever they will do, you have to accept. And voters were very less in number, so that is minority voters were there, because adult franchise was very rigid. Therefore, there is no universal adult franchise as it is now. And legislature and executive were too powerful. All the powers vested upon was the governor and general. And this again led to another reform, that is Indian Council Act of 1919. This is also called as Government of India Act of 1919. So in this, India demanded self-governance. So from this point forward, we are trying to demand for self-governance, and slowly this led to independence. But first it was self-governance, and it was suppressed by the British. And we also demanded that there should be increase in communal representation, whether it be communal representation, but increase should be there in all organs of government. So again, at this time, Lord Montague and Viceroy Lord Chelmsford, they both made a tour in India. So correcting my mistake, prior was not called as Chelmsford Montague reform. This act is called as Montague Chelmsford reform. So they made a report regarding the functioning of India, their defects. This was called as the Montfort report, which gave suggestions to the British in Britain regarding certain changes to be made, and then this act was established. So what are the features of this act? That they decentralized the entire government of India that was functioning into different types. So first was home government. So again, Crown was responsible for India. So a new office was established, that is Secretary of State in India, who will be held liable for the functioning of India. This is like a Governor General, or at par or even better post than Governor General, and he was authorized to make rules for the same. And then in this, 2 subjects were made, one reserve subjects and transfer subjects. So Governor and his associates, that was called as Executive Chancellor, was used to deal with these subjects, and transfer subjects Governor and ministers used to do. Now this council includes almost 8 to 12 members, and then this was regarding the Crown. And now Government of India. So here we have been clearly looking at executive part. First there was central executive. Now here also only Governor General and Council and his associate executive chancellors were appointed, and these people only had powers, mainly Governor General and Council. And what were the powers of that? The Governor General can overrule any decision of the council, whether he likes or not. So he was the main head of the same. Then he was the chairman and president of the provincial legislature to nominate the president. And no bill can be passed without the assent of Governor General. It can be of any matter, religious matters, military, any subject, but he will only pass the bill. Then central legislature. Central legislature include Council of States, and in that also Governor General was presiding. And Council of State includes not more than 60 official members. Here also members are not elected. And in this there was Legislative Assembly. So from here we can draw out that this structure is somewhat similar to what structure we are following today, but this has been changed a lot from that point till the independence point. So Legislative Assembly, 140 members, which were extended further on till 205. And these were the subjects that were included. A short summary of the subjects. Central subjects included post telegraph, communication, defense, foreign relations, debts, criminal civil proceedings, commerce and shipment, custom and coins and patents. And remaining subjects regarding education, water supply, cooperative societies, public works were provincial subjects. So subjects were somewhat clearly divided in the same, and Governor General had power to change, add, remove any subject at whatever point he wanted. So, and he prepared the budget and presented it in the council. Similarly, executive and legislature were not responsible to each other. They worked separately, whatever they like. So like central government is there and now provincial government is here. So this bicameral legislature is there, but both are independent and not accountable to each other. So in provincial government, there was hierarchy which was introduced. Again, central subject was there and provincial subject were there, but here a certain defect is there, that provincial subjects include two different categories, that were transfer subjects and reserve subjects. So these were never clearly defined by the act, that what are these subjects, and again governor were given powers to change these subjects according to whatever he like. Then this act came with a lot of defects, that first being the division of provincial subject into transferred and reserve subjects were never clearly given properly and were responsible. Then ministers were not qualified and there was no coordination between servants and higher-ups. And again, in this act only a new civil servant exam was introduced. There was a different name for it, but this again, they were also, civil servants were also not cooperating with members, they were working their own. And the main defect we have seen from time to time is that Governor General always exercised too much power. He was vested upon with too much powers to overrule any decision. Then again, the Indian National Congress opposed this hierarchy system, and there was a division of governor and executive councillors. So this led to the Government of India Act of 1935, and this act was itself the base of our Indian constitutions. Many changes were done after this act came and we got independence, but this is called as the base of our Indian constitution. So main aim here as well was to establish a hierarchy system as it was existed in provincial. Similar was to be established in central legislature as well. So first provisions were federal structure. It introduced a federal system with provinces and princely states, and it gave everyone a provincial autonomy. So again, every proper system was properly divided. So hierarchy was introduced in central legislature as well. Now this hierarchy was again replaced and full provincial autonomy was introduced, replacing the hierarchy system. So we cannot say it is that absolute hierarchy system. It was there, but many changes were made, so it became a bicameral legislature. So this was the division. So central legislature had two houses, lower house, council of states, and upper house, that is legislative assembly, which is now the same as well. And then again subjects were again changed and reserve subjects included, and these reserved some subjects for British Crown, leaving others for Indian control. So there was a division of subjects where some parts such as religious matters etc. were dealt by Indian people only and not Britishers. So this division was there, and the again the same point, that Governor General retained his powers particularly in related to defense and foreign affairs. So still India has got no control whatsoever regarding controlling the affairs of the country. And again there are certain changes which happened, and Government of India Act 1935 serves as the base. But then again there were many developments from this act till 1947 when we got independence, and the major act was Indian Independence Act of 1947. In between there were certain developments which we will see as well, but first Indian Independence Act of 1947. So due to the culmination of British concussions, which this led to India's independence. So one point to be noted here is that British never really gave India or made freedom. They transferred their power to the Indian officials who were there at that. So provisions of this Indian Independence Act are that India was partitioned. Main provision is that two dominions were established, first India, then Pakistan. Second is that the British government's authority completely ended and legislative power was transferred to Indian leaders. India directly didn't kick them out. They transferred before leaving, they transferred their powers to Indian leaders. And the Indian council system was abolished and India gained full control over its laws, and this led to the independence of India. And last point regarding this unit is that what were the developments in this regard from the year of 1937 till 47, that is after Government of India Act till Independence Act. There was many things happening for independence. In short, I will cover that India's independence after the Government of India Act 1935. First, there were provincial elections happened in 1937 itself because of the Government of India Act 1935, and after these elections the concept of self-governance was increased because many Indian governors, many Indian people were elected as officials in the government. And then again we all know that till 1942 this was the World War II era, and the Cripps mission, which was the shift of British policy towards independence. So British also realized by the time that we cannot stay here for longer, India will gain independence. So this was the process from Cripps mission to post-war regarding transfer of power from the British officials to Indian authorities. And after we demanded full independence through the Indian Independence Act of 1947, which was enacted, India was gaining independence. And with this I have covered the third unit regarding constitutional development or subject for second semester. Thank you.